that you can just watch Cabinet of Dr. Caligari just on Wikipedia?
Like they just host the video?
Yeah.
Huh. I guess it's so old that it's free.
Yeah.
So I put in a link to a YouTube version that you can just watch if it's on the show notes. And now since we're starting the episode, you can go click that, watch the episode, watch the movie. But it's probably not the Kino Lorber print that we watched, which looks real nice.
It was a good looking movie.
For 100+ years old.
Yeah.
That movie looked sharp.
Yeah. I felt like it was it manually sharpened up? Like, is that like an editing thing that you can do now?
Well, I think if you get a good film print, because a lot of people don't know, because we live in our world, that film is just better. Everyone's like, oh, but it's high definition video. It's like, well, nothing's more high def than like film.
Right.
Film is more high def. So if it's a good quality photo, right? It's physical film.
Right.
And if that is of good quality, not degraded, it's going to look good.
Okay.
So there's a thing on, I think, the Blu-ray that talks about the restoration, but I didn't watch that. I didn't watch anything. I am very unprepared.
That's okay. We've been battling the stomach flu. It's
but
fine.
I've kind of been preparing my life for this episode.
You've been preparing this entire podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of I Love This, You Should Too. My name is Indy. I Must Become Caligari Randawa. And with me is my lovely co-host. It's Samantha Lil Davinger Randawa. I forget that. I don't think that's actually her name. The woman who plays Jane, her name sounds like she could be like either Little Rascal or a contemporary hip hop artist.
Oh yeah, Lil Dagover.
Lil Dagover. Okay, that wasn't too far
That's a
off.
good one.
Yeah. So, as you probably already know, we are talking all about the 1920 movie, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And this is clearly my pick. We take turns picking movies for the other person to watch. Something that they probably wouldn't watch on their own. And Samantha probably wouldn't watch a German silent movie from 1920 on her own.
That's 100% true.
And this podcast, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I'm always like, well, that all comes from Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And it's just been a thing for me for so long. So finally, it's like, you know what? I have to just do an episode on it so we can talk about it. And I'm going to do all my research, get back into old film studies, thinking. And you know what? I didn't. We're doing a fast turnaround. Mm-hmm. We were both sick. And this episode has to come out in a couple of days. And I need to edit it. So we're going to go kind of off the cuff. We watched it. I guess it's been 2 days. Mm-hmm. I've thought about it.
Me too.
You know what? It did remind me, because this is actually a movie that I studied.
Uh-huh.
It was 20 years ago in my undergrad, but I've written a paper on this movie. I've read a book that was just on this movie.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time ago, but I think I can still pull from some of that. So it might not be as full out Indies Film School as I was hoping, but you know what? I think we might get there anyway.
Okay, great.
So, let's talk about this movie. We'll talk about our first impressions.
Okay.
Then I do need to give some historical context, because I think movies can exist without that, but I think this movie does gain something with that. And since we are 100 years removed and halfway around the world removed, I think that's valid to put some of that in there. It's not like something we should all expect that our audience knows. Or maybe you as well. Yeah. Maybe you don't know what was going on in Germany in 1920.
Well, war.
Yeah.
Post-war.
Exactly.
Pre-war.
Both.
Post and pre-war.
Often called the interwar period.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
In this case, the Weimar Republic, when we're talking about Germany. Or Weimar? I don't know. I think, are all W's V's? I don't speak much German.
I don't know.
I'm going to say Weimar. If you say it fast enough, maybe you can tell if it's a W or a V.
Oh, maybe. My mom would know.
Then we're going to talk a little expressionism. And I had all of these kind of through lines of distrust of authority and duality, because I do remember my paper was called Dichotomy Within the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Okay.
And it started a suite because everything after that, I was like, well, this is kind of easy to write a paper on this. So all of my essays were called like Dichotomy Within. And I love the word dichotomy, and it's easy to parallel stuff that way.
It's a good word.
So we'll talk a little bit of the dichotomy, and I want to do all of that stuff, but I think maybe we just talk about the plot of the movie and that stuff just comes out.
I think so.
And we do a less structured one than originally I would have thought for a movie that I think is just this important. But first things first, this podcast is called I Love This, You Should Too. So let's start off with you, Samantha.
Yes.
Did you love this movie?
I loved it.
What?
Indy just like threw himself back in his chair. He was so shocked.
Shocked.
I did. So
And you never say you love anything. You're like, yeah, I liked it. It was fine. I see why you like it. That's the classic Samantha answer.
well, I can see why you like it.
But you like it.
Yeah.
That's wild. Go on.
Okay. I just thought it was a good story. Like I enjoyed the plot of it, which we will get into. I enjoyed the acting in it. There was a lot of really good facial acting happening.
Yeah.
And I guess that has to be when you don't have like a script.
But you've watched other silent movies. That's not always the case.
No, that's true. But this one, I really thought they did the most and it worked out well for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also liked like the costuming. I enjoyed watching the makeup tricks, I guess, because I've learned about black and white in this like 7-year film school degree that I'm doing. And I felt like it was kind of cool to get to see some of those like kind of, not primitive is the wrong word, but like really like beginning of film tricks.
Yeah.
That like,
And how this movie had these things down 70 years before movies were getting it wrong way after, right?
yeah. And so it was kind of cool to get to see that. And then you talk about this movie like all the time because it's like the basis of your film degree, I assume.
Not even close, but I think it's the basis of so much film.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could look at, well, the most of influential movies are the first one because we all liked the motion picture. But this one is the one where I can draw the most clear lines to the next 100 years of film that people didn't always say like, oh, I'm taking it from that movie. They might not have even seen this movie, but they've seen the descendants of it. And so much of what we assume is just how movies should look and how they should be made comes from this movie. And I think that helps it be not as dated. Like, clearly it is. It's a 100-year-old movie that's silent. It's clearly dated, but it doesn't feel as foreign as sometimes a movie from 1950 does that doesn't quite get these things as right.
Right. Okay.
I think.
Yeah. No, I think it was kind of fun to get to see it. And then also, I'm glad we did it this far into the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like I got more out of it from just kind of what I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
Just being married to you.
Well, here we are 10 plus years into our relationship,
Yes.
and I'm still being surprised by you that you loved the
Yeah.
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
I think it's an important movie, and I think that I can see kind of maybe not exactly those through lines that you were talking about, but I feel like it was important for film.
It sure was.
The umbrella of film.
Yeah. And I think what we might be learning is you might like Expressionism.
Maybe.
I love Expressionism.
Well, let's talk about it. Was this movie, do you still love it?
So I had a complex thought process going into this movie because when I saw it first, I was somewhere between 17 and 19.
Okay.
Because I went to university as a 17-year-old,
Right.
so it might have been in that first year. It might have been in my introduction to film class.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I saw this one on my own because I was just like that kind of nerd that I was interested in this sort of thing. But it might have been in that class as a 17, 18-year-old. And I claimed this was one of my favorite movies for many years. I said this is a top 5 favorite movie of all time for me. And I haven't revisited it in more than 15 years, probably.
Oh, wow.
So I had a fear that I was... Well, for a second, let's talk about you. You love Taylor Swift.
I do. It's true.
You love Ugg boots.
I do love Ugg boots.
You love pumpkin spice coffee.
Yeah, I do. These are all true.
These things, people will derisively say like, oh, that's basic.
I am basic.
But to be basic is to be in the majority.
Yes.
Taylor Swift is very well loved, probably because she's very good.
Yeah.
Ugg boots, I've never worn some. They're very well loved. Are they very comfortable?
Yes.
That makes sense then. So sometimes these things that we have, like, oh, we're dismissive, like that's basic. Yeah, these things people love because they are good.
I think it's cool to not like things.
That's true.
Which is like very much the culture right now. And
which is also the antithesis of this show.
Yeah.
My whole thing was like, everything is as valuable. Just tell me why it's valuable to you.
Uh-huh.
I would never have listened to Taylor Swift on my own, and I still don't listen to her on my own.
No.
But when you play it, I was like, I see the appeal of this.
Yeah.
I haven't come around on pumpkin spice. I don't think it works with coffee. I think it works with teas. But
dessert.
I gave it a good shot.
Yeah, you did. You tried it. I walked with Indy while he held his first pumpkin spice latte.
I've had several.
I've never been so proud.
Not great. But I think pumpkin spice has a good place.
Yeah, true.
Pies.
I'm
Eggnogs.
just a cozy girl. That's why I like what I like.
And I'm gonna get you got me some Ugg boots.
I did.
Come wintertime, I'm breaking those out too. It's gonna be great.
You could be wearing them around in the house right now.
Similarly for me, there is a film studies guy, right? Who's like, you know what? I like a Taxi Driver. My favorite movie is actually, you probably haven't heard of it. It's from 1920. It's called Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So my fear is, oh, am I just that guy? You're not saying it but maybe I picked it as my favorite thing way back then to be like, you know what? I'm a little different. I'm a little cool. Niche. I kind of know my history. I'm a little different like that.
Not the regular film studies guy.
Sure. Although that is the regular film studies guy. Really maybe. Although they're more of my generation. There's a lot of Tarantino fans. That's what yeah. But that was my fear. So watching this, I was just ecstatic to find out that this movie is fantastic. It was so good. And yes, it is a top 5 of my, like I could say maybe the most influential movie ever, but of my personal favorites. And I can say not just to be a guy who has a film podcast and a film degree. It's just fun to watch. The story is good. It's exciting. It's somehow incredibly contemporary. It doesn't feel dated in the way it tells things. Of course, it is a silent movie and it has those kind of trappings that shots last a little longer than we're used to. Editing is much slower. That never really bothers me though. So those kind of things are easy for me to gloss over. And then when you get into the visuals, I think this looks better than most movies that I see today. I think the script is actually surprisingly complex, something that we don't usually see of movies of this time. And it's just good. It was an enjoyable watch, and I had so much fun, especially the second half of the movie. I feel like it puts you on your heels right at the beginning because everything looks weird and nightmarish. And then they just keep twisting and twisting and twisting, and you are disoriented in the best way possible. I love this movie.
You still love it.
Still love it. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I love it more now than I ever did. Maybe I appreciate it a lot more now than I did in the past even.
Whoa.
So should we talk historical context?
Yes, I love historical context.
This is not a history podcast, so you know what? I'm not going to be a completionist about all of this. I'm glossing over huge, very important things, but we want to talk about the movie and not just history. So this, of course, is coming right on the heels of World War I, or then it's just the Great War, because they didn't know there was going to be another one.
The Great War, followed by an even greater war.
And most film production in Europe stopped at this time, and everything is rebuilding, and most places didn't rebuild their film systems quickly, and this is part of why Hollywood was able to really start taking off. But in Germany in 1917, during the war, the pro-German, it was state-controlled, it was called UFA, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but that was the production house that took control over essentially all of German cinema, and then they started making pro-German kind of propaganda films and like other movies, but more well-disguised propaganda, I guess. And then after the war ends, of course, there's the Treaty of Versailles. Germany feels like they've been treated badly. And in the post-war period, we get the Weimar Republic, which is a move away from the monarchy because there's no more, was it a Kaiser? That's their king?
Yes.
There's no more monarchy in Germany. Instead, we are going to have a republic, the Weimar Republic. And this is a very unstable time, of, as I guess any post-war period is. And we have one image of this time that this is the free and artistic and people can be themselves. And the Weimar Republic we see in Cabaret, right?
Right, yes.
Where it's like sexually and artistically liberal. But just like everywhere, post-war times can go either way. You can go into liberal or you can go hard fascist, and often those things are at odds. So Germany is already set up for film because all of that money got put into the state-run propaganda system, and UFA, that state-run system, still exists post-war. So they have an established film system that can rival Hollywood. It's really just those two right after the war. It's Hollywood and Germany that have big film systems.
Okay.
Other people are still making movies, but those are the big established ones. And they start making big spectacle movies to distract from the hardships after the war. There's a lot of big costume kind of dramas. And like in times of hardship anywhere, art usually goes one of two ways, either into escapism or confrontation of those hardships. We're either going to explore that stuff or, hey, look, a bunch of flashing lights, superheroes, costumes, rich people, all of that kind of stuff to distract you from it.
Right.
I feel like that's less and less true every day because it's less and less about art and more about business. So you don't get to see people reacting the same way. You get to see how a business thinks we should react to something.
Right.
But this was very prevalent then and through the next, 80-ish years. But when they move away from these costume dramas and period pieces is the Weimar cinema that I love the most and what we now think of it when we talk about Weimar cinema, because this is maybe my single favorite time in filmmaking is German films of the Weimar cinema, maybe New Hollywood of the US. That's from like mid 60s to late 70s. Those two are my very, very favorite things.
If you know about this show, you know Indy loves the 70s.
It's true. But both Weimar cinema and New Hollywood, I actually haven't done much on the show at all. I always talk about like that's the best stuff, but it's daunting to do like Taxi Driver and Caligari on this because then I feel like, I have to really be on. I always talk about how great this stuff is. Like I said, you can confront stuff or you can go in escapism. And the good stuff and what they become known for is that more confrontational stuff. So this was written by two men, Janowitz and Meyer, and they meet just after the end of the war. And they were both in theater criticism, and writing. Janowitz was in the Austrian army during the war, and it made him hate everything to do with war. He was a pacifist. He hated his time in the army. Meyer was similar in that he hated everything about the war and was a pacifist, but he spent the entire war kind of in a battle with a psychiatrist who was, and I guess all of these stories are 100 years old, so I'm not sure which way it goes. Right. Either the psychiatrist was saying, this man is mentally deranged, he's criminally insane, he should not be anywhere near the military. Or he was putting on airs of being insane so he wouldn't have to go fight.
Right. Okay.
That kind of nuance we don't really have this far out. So it could go either way, but the fact that he spent these years battling a psychiatrist is very telling for the script he is going to write afterwards.
Okay.
Right? Because Caligari, you can see a distrust of psychiatrists in this thing.
Absolutely. Right? And like the ending, which we'll talk about, was very much like, and see, he was up to no good all along. What a quack.
They are both very anti-war. They are both pacifists. And they set out to write this film that is an indictment of authority figures who use their positions of powers to control those who do not have it. And I think that's pretty clear in the movie as well. Mm-hmm. So like I said, at this point in Germany, small studios pretty much don't exist. Everything is UFA. But this studio, Dekla, comes along, and they did not have a budget. They didn't even have enough for like electricity. They couldn't light a full set. They didn't have enough money to have electricity to light a proper room.
Okay.
So they say like, well, what if we don't need fancy lighting? We just paint the shadows onto things. What if we don't need realistic sets? We just do crazy wood cutouts and we paint canvas and we just shoot everything in this little room and we go crazy with it and we lean into it. We lean into Expressionism. And Expressionism, if you out there are not familiar, it is a modernist artistic movement. People say originating in the early 1900s, but like Edvard Munch was, The Scream was 1893, and that is just off the top of my head, but Sam is my fact checker, so she'll probably tell me how wrong I am. But Edvard Munch did The Scream. He's Norwegian, of course, but that was earlier than that, so Expressionism did exist before.
What year did you say?
1893.
Wow.
Is it right?
Yeah.
I've been to the Munch Museum.
Oh, so it's in there somewhere.
He's Norwegian and I went to school in Norway, so it was like a big deal.
I went on the craziest recall.
For certain things.
It's crazy to me how much he has in his brain.
I went on a field trip with my art history, not even my art history class, with Helene's art history class. I wasn't in that class, but they were going on a field trip and I took the trip with her. We went to Lillehammer. We saw some Munch. So I remember that well.
Nice.
But he was a Norwegian. The German Expressionist movement really hits its stride in the early 1900s. And one of the hallmarks of Expressionism is that it depicts a world that is subjective. We are not in that classical world of objective paintings of this looks like the thing we want. And as close to reality means it is best. This is concentrating on emotional experiences rather than any sort of objective reality. So what that looks like is, like, The Scream is a very good example of it. It's distorted forms, it's exaggerated lines. When there is color, it's often vivid colors that are evoking a certain mood, and that mood is often anxiety. There's very little, look how happy I am, expressionism.
Okay.
I guess the best way to put it, if you're not familiar with it, it looks like you feel. Emotions have visual weight on the canvas, or in this case, in the screen, and canvas, because much of these sets were made from canvas. And this seems like, when you're talking about film, something that we would get to eventually. Mm-hmm. Like, we think of, a horror movie, what's it look like? It's dark. Its comedies are bright.
Right.
It makes sense in our mind that, of course, it would be like that. Why wouldn't it be like that? But someone had to come up with that.
Right.
And this was the movie that did it the most.
Set those rules?
Yeah.
Ah.
When I did film study, kind of like an intro unit, when I was teaching grade 10, I showed them pictures of Mufasa and Scar. Mm-hmm. And you can just look at them like, Mufasa has rounder lines, brighter coloring. Scar is sharp lines. He's asymmetrical. He's darker in the coloring. That is the remnants of expressionism. Like, we think certain feelings look a certain way.
Right. Okay.
So I think that's the most simple way to put it. But also now it's why I look at every show on Netflix. I'm like, this is too bright. Why is it this bright? Because it's for people to put clips on their phones and watch it that way, because that's how it is now. Instead of like, we really want to convey emotion, it's we really want to convey that this movie exists. It's like the biggest thing. And also, well, now I'm just on a tangent, but I'm going to keep going. I feel like animation and video games, you know what, guys? You got realism. It looks real. Congratulations. Let's get some expressionism in there now.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you make things look like you want us to feel? Like the live action Lion King, conversely to the animated one, they just look all real.
Yeah.
So great. What, you did it. You can make computers do anything. Congratulations. How does that serve my understanding of the story in any way? How does that serve what the director is trying to make me feel? It doesn't. You have the technology. Let's go a little more expressionist with things, guys.
Yeah.
Expressionism is sweet.
I'm enjoying it.
So when we're talking about Caligari specifically now, we get that sense of anxiety, of terror, and really it looks like a nightmare most of the time, right? These are shapes that we associate with disorientation and a nightmare world. And then the fact that it's all shot in a studio makes it even more, because we don't have anything grounding us to the real world. There's no trees in this movie. You don't see a lake. You don't see clouds. There is nothing natural. And that's something that I didn't even realize makes you feel weird until this viewing, whereas like I have no grounding in the real world, because you don't see any of it at all. Everything we see is constructed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realize that sometimes I talk in depth about things, but I don't talk very on the surface. So what I'm talking about is, in this movie, everything has very sharp angles. Everything is asymmetrical. There's high contrast lighting. There's no 90-degree angles in any of the rooms or doors or anything. Everything is off kilter, and it makes you feel that same way.
Makes you feel off kilter.
Yeah. And in addition to these ideas of emotion coming into the visual world, a part of Expressionism was the idea that the ultimate perception of reality will appear distorted and insane to the healthy and practical mind. So if you are well, everything should look crazy to you, because look how crazy this world is. The Scream is about that. It's about a man, or a creature, really. I don't know. Is that a man? Who is screaming because they cannot deal with everything around them. So the idea that reality will appear distorted and insane to a healthy and practical mind is something that I want to keep in mind for the very end of this movie, because you've seen the movie. Yeah, I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, I do.
So let's talk about the plot of the movie, keeping in mind things like that, and how this movie is, I think, dealing with the distrust of authority, especially in a post-war Germany, and bringing in that subjective reality of expressionism.
Okay.
Did that all make sense? I feel like when I'm talking about something that I know, I feel like I'm not always the best at explaining it.
No, you're doing a good job.
Okay.
You're doing a good job. I feel like I'm with you.
Okay. So let's start getting into the plot of this movie.
Okay.
We start off in what appears to be like kind of a normal park. Maybe the only normal thing we see.
And it looks bright.
Yes. It's more well lit than everything else. We don't see all these weird shadows. And Francis is he our lead? I don't know. He's maybe a hero. I don't know if he's that either. Let's say Francis.
Yeah.
He's on a bench and he's talking to this other guy. And I think the other guy's saying something about how spirits have driven him away from his family and home. And I never really pay attention to that, because I'm like still getting settled. And I was like, wait, is that something important? No, it's gone. And we get to see his fiancée, Jane, who looks
ghostly.
Yeah. And then the movie really gets going, and there is a flashback to the city of Holstenwall. How does this city look to you?
In one way, it looks like a small town in Germany, or like a small town in Europe of some sort. I would also say in other ways, it's like just not quite right.
Yeah, everything looks like a nightmarish take off of that,
Yes.
I guess.
Like when you're having a dream and you're like, this can't be real life because like this, and this are strange.
And in the background, they have the whole town, and there's always a big castle on top of the hill with all of the houses huddled kind of underneath, which is also how many cities are.
Yeah.
But that is also indicative of that idea that there is an authority. There is a ruler, and all of these other people or houses, in this case, the peasants, are all below it and not doing as well.
Right.
So Francis has a pal named Alan, and they both are in love with Jane, and they're like, you know what? You're my pal. Jane's going to pick one of us, and whoever she picks, good for them, and we'll just be happy either way.
We'll be pals no matter what.
Yeah, what a pal.
Besties.
And then Dr. Caligari arrives, and the first thing he is doing is he goes to a town clerk because he needs a permit to go into a fair. And if you told me that, like, maybe the first horror movie ever made starts with someone trying to get a permit from a town clerk, I'd be like, yeah, it doesn't sound great.
It doesn't sound
But I
scary.
think it sets things up pretty well. Because do you remember how that clerk is positioned?
He's like, everybody's chairs are way too tall for their tables. And he's like all hunched over. And he seems really grumpy, which I would also be grumpy if I had to sit at that angle all day.
And I think they're trying to show that all aspects in this world are dominated by some sort of tyrant. He's on a chair that's way too high to show, like, look how much above you I am.
Right.
Look at these castles on the hill. Look at all of these clerks even. They're not anything too special, but they are above you, Mr. Dr. Caligari.
Dr. Caligari.
And he has that super high chair.
Yes.
I did love how he gives him his business card. That's such a cool business card.
Yeah.
It says Dr. Caligari. Expressionist business cards. That's what I want to have. And that guy kind of made Caligari wait for a while. So then that night, murdered in his bed.
What a jerk.
And when we talked about Nosferatu quite a while ago, there is that kill scene where it's all done in shadow, and I was like, this set the stage for so many other things. This did it before. I forgot that Caligari did it first.
Yeah.
I've ripped that off. So many other movies have, because they both get away from censorship, because even though this is 1920, there are still boards that will not let you show certain things, so they couldn't show someone getting stabbed with a knife, so they do it in silhouette, and it's such an elegant, beautiful solution to that.
It's iconic.
It is. And you still see that used all the time today.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Both for artistic merit and because you can get away with stuff that way.
I'm thinking of Psycho.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at you, quoting scenes from Psycho.
Just doing it.
Just a film girl.
Just a film girl married to a film boy.
So then Francis and Alan go to the Caligari sideshow, and it is a somnambulist.
Which I didn't actually know what a somnambulist was.
So this I have trouble with, because it's like, everyone knows that. I think maybe not everyone loves the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, so maybe it's not a known thing.
It's not.
Yeah, I guess not.
I've never heard this word. I can confidently say I've never heard this word before we started watching this movie.
All right.
I like know that my memory is like really crappy, but I do feel like I'd remember somnambulist.
Well, I did ask you last episode of like, do you know what a somnambulist is? And you said, what does that word mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a sleepwalker. It's someone he's been asleep for 23 years.
Yes, it's like a sleep and wakefulness combination that makes you kind of like just dormant.
That's a definition you looked up?
Yes.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, it's a combined sleep and wakefulness. It's classified as a sleep disorder belonging to the parasomnia family.
Oh, it's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
I didn't know that. I just know it from this movie.
It can also be understood as a disorder of state of dissociation.
Oh, well, that kind of seems appropriate then.
Yeah, so
our somnambulist is named Cesare.
right.
That I am 90% sure is how you say it.
Right.
I used to always think Caesar, or Cesare, but I believe the German said Cesare.
That makes sense. I've heard that before.
Oh,
Cesare.
Cool.
Not about Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, but I have heard Cesare before.
Probably in your other somnambulist readings that you've done.
Just constantly reading somnambulist dramas.
So Cesare wakes up because Caligari tells him to, and he says he can answer any question. He knows the past and the future.
Whoa.
And Alan asks a question, well, you should never ask, because it's just tempting things, I guess. He says, how long shall I live? And Cesare answers, until dawn tomorrow.
Ah, oh no.
And then later that night, I think at this point we don't see who it is. A figure breaks into Alan's home and stabs him to death in his bed.
Yeah.
You, I assume, knew that who was doing it at this point, or did you not?
No.
Oh, okay. So this movie, I forgot. To me, on this viewing, knowing the movie, I was like, whoa, there's so many twists on it.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't even seen the movie before, I bet the end is disorienting because it keeps twisting and twisting and twisting.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll talk about the ending. But
Yes.
I did find out when the movie revealed his face that it was him murdering.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's so good to know that the conventions it uses to have a surprise are still effective.
Yeah.
Because I can't judge that because I knew.
I kind of thought it was Caligari
That makes sense.
because he's there and then he's
He's a bad guy and he's in charge.
yeah, I'm just going to go murder this person at night.
But Cesare, maybe he is embodying our fears of industrialization and mechanization coming because he's little more than a robot.
I do have those fears.
But I think more, and I think many things I might say, I'm not necessarily claiming them all for my own because I read books on it 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's in my mind somewhere. But it's more about human individuality disappearing under systems of control. And in this case, Caligari is the controller and he has absolute authority over Cesare because of the hypnotism or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Cesare is just a
Sleepy boy.
sleepy boy. He just does what he's told. Perhaps mirroring the German people being controlled and being forced into a war that they did not want to be a part of. And these two writers, men who were in or almost in that war who did not want to be there.
Whoa.
So then the police catch some guy because he had a knife. And he's like, seriously, guys, I was just killing this lady. I wasn't killing anyone else. I never killed anyone else. I just wanted to kill this one lady.
That was
just one.
The best defense.
Yeah.
It's no, I just killed her. I didn't kill him.
I was killing her because I saw everyone else getting killed and I thought you would blame the other guy for this one. I didn't think you'd blame me for those ones. This is all crazy now. And one of my very favorite things, he has an expressionist ball and chain. The ball and chain, the design on that is so cool. Oh my God, I loved it so much.
I also loved all the doors.
Yes.
I'm these are probably the worst design for doors because so many of them were
so much.
cellar doors too, where you kind of had to lift up.
Yeah.
And
well, because there's no flat ground, so everything you have to lift up.
Everything's going into a little tunnel.
Yeah.
It was poorly designed, but also well designed.
And then we get into my favorite act of the movie. So first it starts with Francis, and he's going to spy on Caligari to make sure that Cesare is still sleeping in his coffin, or cabinet, if you will. The cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh, that's what it meant.
Is that serious, or did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know where the cabinet came in.
That's the cabinet, and Cesare is in the cabinet.
He just lives in
and
the
perhaps
cabinet.
the cabinet is a metaphor for the prison that authoritarian leaders keep the subjugated people in.
Whoa, man.
One might say.
One might say that. Who knows?
But we see Cesare sneaking into Jane's house as she's sleeping, and he comes at her with a knife, and that was the reveal when you realized?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when he ran off with her.
Yeah, and then I guess he thinks she's so beautiful that he can't kill her?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I took away from it. And he did see her once before because she came to see
Caligari.
the two of them. And there's that one shot where I wasn't sure if his eyes were closed and they painted eyeballs on his eyelids because he had such an unblinking sideways stare at her.
It was very unnerving.
Oh, it was. Maybe we should take a little break to talking about the performances.
Yes, yeah. And some of the makeup that they used.
So they're going to be exaggerated in all cases. There's like dark circles under the eyes. Jane has all that lip business going on. But the face acting in this, I thought, was just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Conrad Veidt, who plays Cesare, especially, like when he wakes up, he does this kind of like twitching for a while before he wakes up. I forget the guy who's playing Caligari, but he was very successful. He did lots and lots of movies.
Werner Krauss.
Werner Krauss. He's fantastic well.
He did so much face acting.
Oh my God.
The facial expressions that Caligari uses, I'm like, how did you not know he was a bad guy?
Right?
Like,
that's the most evil someone could ever look.
Right? I'm like, he's really doing the most to make sure that everyone knows that he's evil because, like, whew.
And
There's some facial expressions on him.
They really highlight it too because they have some very good close-ups, especially of him. And they use some vignetting, like they darken around it. So it's much more circular. So you're really directed to what you want to look at. Yeah. And we don't need to go into how much of a Nazi each person in this movie was.
Yeah.
Because it's 1920, it's Germany. There's a sliding scale. But I will say Conrad Veidt, great man.
Really?
Great man, does great things. Would move to the US, would only play Nazis and make sure that they are the villains. Like don't put anything redeeming about this Nazi character. I'm just going to play Nazis and they're all terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lil Dagover, however, may have had dinner with Hitler more than once.
Oh, wow.
And Werner Krauss did do a lot of Nazi movies. You could always say with anyone, like, they were there, they were doing what they had to do, but I don't know all of that stuff.
Yeah,
all I know is Conrad Veidt got out and did everything he could to let people know that Nazis are the worst. So
also, let's not give Nazis the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. So we'll only praise Veidt.
Okay.
Who goes on to be in Casablanca.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a big time guy. And he was physically, like, I know you have to be physical in all of these, but he is so good at all of those movements.
Yes. Cesare was like, he didn't seem human sometimes.
Yeah.
And he seemed like otherworldly, like ghostly.
Because everything already looks like a dream, and then he moves like a dream, too.
Yeah.
Going back to where we left off, there's that shot where he is going to her home, and he's kind of leaning against the wall as he walks.
Yeah.
I just love that so much. And then when he finds her in the bed, that's such a good shot because it has this perspective of her in the foreground and him coming up behind her. And that shot is brilliant in so many ways. And I know I sound like someone who is just fanboying about something, but it is. The idea of having that kind of dramatic irony built into a shot where we know he's coming at her and she doesn't. That's in every horror movie. Someone sneaks up behind you. But someone had to do it first.
Yes, exactly.
Someone had to come up with that. And I had never seen that before this point. That kind of deep focus I praised in Citizen Kane of like, oh, look how great this movie is. It was a pioneer in all of these things. Caligari was doing that too.
Yeah.
And in that sequence, they actually do some cross-cutting. Cross-cutting means when you go from scene A to B to A to B to A to B, showing two different places at the same time.
Right.
And they did that to establish that Francis is still looking at the dummy, we learn, of Cesare, while the real Cesare is doing all of this.
Right.
That gets established when the Russian montage gets into it, and that's where we really take off with cross-cutting. I'd never seen it before this. Like, the world, perhaps, had never seen it before this. Maybe there's an example of cross-cutting before, but I can't think of one. So in that one shot, so much of the language of now what we think film is. Sneaking up behind someone, having one person not know, but us as the audience be in on the surprise. we take it for granted, but like this did it. How do you show two things happening at the same time? Do we split screen? I don't know. Cross-cutting. Someone had to come up with this stuff. And the fact that they came up with everything all at once is pretty insane to me. But that just goes to say, I loved that sequence of him coming in and leaning against the wall like a real creep, going to stab her, and then taking her away.
While we're talking about like this movie just doing all the things, I just wanted to say how cool I thought it was that like the changing of like the gel, I guess it would have been like
tinting, film tinting.
Yeah, was like such a cool way to do not just lighting changes, but sometimes mood changes.
Yeah, and the time of day. How do you show it's day or night when we don't have enough money to have proper lighting and we're painting on shadows?
Yeah.
You change it from yellow to blue.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
So simple, so elegant, and it worked so well.
And you don't immediately have to stop and go, what just happened? It's like inherent in your brain.
I think that is... Clearly, I'm saying this movie does everything so well, but I think what it does best, if you could summarize, is it plays on things that we will inherently understand.
Yeah.
So well. Like the cross-cutting, like the perspective, like the change of time and scene with colors, like these weird shapes make you feel not right. All of that, of course we understand it. But someone had to do all of the experiments of what we will inherently understand and what we won't. And they just happened to get all of those things right. All in one movie.
Well,
agreed. There was that one time I had actually forgotten that this happens where someone turns on a light switch and they just change the tint.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was
I know
one
that's
of the
not
moments.
amazing, but it was amazing.
Yeah, that was one of the moments where I was like, they're doing it. This is like...
They got it.
Instead of being like, I'm turning a light on now and having like nothing really change. That was like a really cool way to do it. And I never had to take myself out of the plot to be like, oh, they just turned a light on.
Yeah. This is a real necessity breeds invention. What's the term? What's that phrase? Something like when they didn't have other options.
Right.
They didn't have lights. So we will invent something to overcome that.
Right.
They were really hamstrung. Is that a word?
I don't think so, but...
To say something, you're hamstrung, doesn't that mean like you're put at a disadvantage? Whatever. They were put at a disadvantage because of their lack of budget.
Right.
And what they did to overcome that just turned out to be every single right choice.
And the future of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like I always said when we were talking about Star Wars or the Matrix movies, they were better when they were on a low budget because they had to figure things out, and it seems like they cared a lot more.
And make it believable than when you have like $400 million to do whatever you want.
So then right after this, he gets chased by an angry mob. Movies of the era, lots of angry mobs.
Love
I
an
love them.
angry mob.
Yep. And he drops her and flees, and then I think he dies?
I thought he
mark?
fell asleep, but he might be dead.
I thought maybe he used all of his energy up and died. But maybe he fell asleep because that's what he does.
Well, I'm amazed that he could walk.
Or is he so well rested?
Oh, maybe. But like your muscles do atrophy.
Yes.
Faster than you'd think.
But he might have been killing like every other night in other towns.
Oh, maybe he has been just like walking around at night. But that was one thing my medical brain clicked in. It was like, how does that person have any muscle definition in their legs?
I think he's been murdering all over the place.
It's just a murder at night.
And maybe my favorite shot of this movie is when he walks down that bridge, because we see all of these great, fantastic backgrounds all the time, but it's really in this act that we see them as real. Because he's interacting with them. If you saw that shot, and I think we do see that shot, that background in other places, and I assume it was just a painting. And then when you see him walk up and down the bridge, you're like, oh, wait, this is a whole real world? That blew my mind. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's this big fractured kind of star pattern, and that's where he drops her and runs away. And that's the background of, I do have an action figure set of that scene.
Oh, yeah. You were saying you have, because we were debating whether or not Cesare's outfit was like all one piece.
And I said there is lines to it. And I know because of my action figure has the lines. But also, I know we can't really tell because this is a 100-year-old movie, but the costumes in this movie were intentionally made to be kind of timeless. So they are not of 1920s Germany. They're kind of just supposed to be like, this could be whenever.
Yeah, those hats.
Oh, those tall hats.
Those tall pointy hats are quite the piece. I still think he was wearing like a onesie.
But yeah, that whole sequence is probably my favorite part of the whole movie. And then they go to investigate the sideshow and they discover that the Cesare in the cabinet of Dr. Caligari is only a dummy, and Caligari runs away and he runs to an insane asylum. And then when Francis goes to find where this madman went, they're like, oh, you should probably talk to the director first. And the director is Dr. Caligari! Yeah!
And I was like, yep, seemed sketchy all movie. Had a feeling that there was something more.
Did that twist really surprise you?
Yeah. I knew there was something coming because I live in the world and I've seen a movie before. But I felt like I didn't think it was going to be that big.
Yeah.
And that we'd see him again in the asylum. I thought it would be like, oh, and here's a picture of our like director, and that would be Caligari. I thought he'd be like,
or he's an escaped patient. I thought.
Oh, that too. Yeah, like I thought he'd be long gone by the time we got to the asylum.
The fact that he's just sitting there being in charge.
Yeah.
The reveal of him as the director of the institution, I found legitimately disorienting and disconcerting, even on this watch.
It is concerning.
Oh, that too. I said disconcerting, but it is also concerning that this man is in a place of authority.
Yeah, and he's in charge of people.
If I may reiterate what a book I read 20 years ago said, a book called From Caligari to Hitler, which tracks from this movie to the rise of Nazism.
Oh, wow.
Krakauer, the author, argued that this movie reflects a subconscious need in German society for a tyrant. He said this movie shows that these people need someone to rule over them, and they have such obedience that they will be unwilling to rebel against a deranged authority. And in this way, you could see Caligari as representing the German war movement, with Cesare being symbolic of the common man being conditioned like soldiers to kill and to follow in line.
Right.
And I don't know, I think it's like a bit of a reach anytime people bring in like, yeah, and that's what Hitler does. You're like, oh, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of this is more nuanced, but what I do think the writers are saying is that, yes, authority can be used for very nefarious means, that people in power will control those who are not in power and make them do their bidding, just as Caligari does with
all his patients.
Cesare.
Yeah.
To say that this shows an innate need for the German people for a tyrant, I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea that first we are with Caligari in like, here's the old world tyrant of just some bureaucrat on a really high chair, and he's keeping everybody down with his bureaucracy. But then Caligari has him killed, and you're like, oh, that's a little bit far.
That's a bit much, yeah.
And just like someone who is taking down people in power and then instilling themselves to be an even more brutal dictator, if we're talking about big sweeping government things, Caligari takes on that role, and he is, yeah, I'm going to free you from this bureaucracy, but at what cost? It's at the cost of people's lives. And for Cesare, who is kind of, I think, symbolic of the everyday person who is being controlled by these systems, of his freedom and free will.
Yeah. Whoa.
So I think this whole section where we get to see the institution and Caligari there is the part that most clearly gets across the idea from the writers that authority figures are not to be trusted. And that's also a tenet of Expressionism. That was part of that movement. And because in this movie, we've been so consistently put off balance with what's going on and how everything looks. It now seems easier to just kind of tip us over the edge. And the reveal of him as the director is that point for me, at least.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie kept me on my toes the entire time, I feel like.
Which is very surprising for a kind of slow-moving, silent film that's 106 years old.
Yeah, I was engaged in a way that I was surprised by.
Especially the second half.
Yeah, because I did not think that we were going where we were going.
So we get that big twist, but there's still more, because now the asylum staff and Francis are looking over the director Caligari's records and his diary, and it reveals that he becomes obsessed with this old story about a doctor named Caligari who used a somnambulist named Cesare to commit murders in, I think, Italy?
Right. Those Italians always murdering.
And then I think we get another flashback. So now we have a guy telling a story. In that story, there's a flashback to this town. Then he's reading a diary, and we get to go flashback into that world too. Those layers I didn't think that many layers of reality existed in films 100 years old. No. I kind of think of that as a modern convention, and it is not.
No, and like the amount of twists in this movie, I was like kind of surprised by, and like pleasantly surprised. Like, I love a twist. If you've heard me talk about the books I read,
twisty turnies.
And I just felt like this was like a very good example of that, and it's kind of fun to see it in a different context.
And now we're having it twist from this horror movie. I think was kind of the biggest genre at this point. This movie also arguably the first horror movie.
Yes,
I'd say the first horror feature for sure. But now it's becoming like a detective story too, which is fun. And we're getting everything unraveled, and it's coming at you kind of fast of like, and here's all of the reasoning behind all of these things, and it's all coming at you. And in that flashback within the flashback in the diary, we have him kind of becoming obsessed with the idea of Caligari, and he says, I must become Caligari.
Yeah.
And those words that are coming up on the screen, and he's going crazy, and he's seeing that everywhere. I know that definitely looks dated and hokey, but I think it works very well when everything looks weird. Something as weird as that totally worked for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was a fun way to use, like, not verbal cues, but like to show that he is like mad.
Yeah, the equivalent of hearing voices.
Yeah.
What can you do when we have no audio? You show it on screen.
You can write vertically.
I'd never seen that before either.
That was very cool, and a very cool way to express that craziness, madness.
And Caligari is found out because of these diaries, and then he's put in a straitjacket and becomes an inmate in his own asylum. Maybe the third twist at this point. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about this ending a lot, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about it too.
Yeah.
All of that stuff we'll consider the first story, and then this part I consider the framing story. So what I mean by the framing story is, in this twist ending, Francis is revealed to be an inmate in an asylum. Jane and Cesare are just patients there as well. Jane, I think, believes she's a queen. Cesare is just walking around, I think, playing with flowers. And Dr. Caligari, whether or not that is his real name, is in fact the asylum director. Francis goes to attack him and is restrained and put in a straitjacket. And that's how the movie ends. This whole movie was the ramblings of a madman.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts on that final twist? Or do you want me to get started? Because I got a lot to say.
So normally I don't feel like it was all a dream kind of defense is a good one.
May I read my very first note?
Yes.
The "it was all a dream" ending is one of my least favorite endings in cinema. But here, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And I'm surprised by that because it is kind of just a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's like you being in my brain.
But I always say that that's the worst ending ever.
It
so
is the
you'd
worst
think
ending
if I
ever.
was in your brain, it would go the other way. So why I think it kind of fits. Everything in this movie is disorienting.
Yes.
It has a surprisingly complex plot, and the reveal that he was telling a story and is crazy doesn't even seem like the biggest twist.
No.
The bigger twist seemed like when Caligari is revealed to be the director of the asylum. That surprised me more. So this isn't even the biggest surprise of the last 15 minutes for me. So I think that makes it go down a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And how the movie has looked up to this point, like we said, it was like not quite right and kind of dreamlike. It kind of makes sense to me.
Does it look like it is a world created by a madman, perhaps?
Yes.
That makes sense.
It
then.
looks to me like someone who is on a lot of drugs is having this weird dream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I thought of it when I saw the ending. I thought that it was very much like, oh, this person, yeah, this makes sense. This checks out, because everything else in the movie is very much like how you'd remember something, but you're also on a lot of drugs.
So I think if it was all a dream can ever be earned, this is as earned as it can get.
Agree.
So it's funny that this is such a cliche over the next 100 years. I don't know if this was the first example of it. It's the first one I know of.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like the most palatable version of it as well.
I agree. Yeah.
But I think there's more to it. I think. So supposedly, again, this is 100 years later, we're not exactly sure. The writers of the movie did not put that last bit in.
Oh.
The framing story was something that was forced on it. People say because the original ending of Caligari being in charge of
Everybody.
the asylum and also being in charge of making Cesare murder people was too much of a critique of authority, and it was essentially censored by putting on this ending of like, no, we don't think that all authority is bad. Look, this was just a madman saying it.
Right.
So maybe that's true. We're not exactly sure. There is also what I like to think of as a combined reading.
Uh-huh.
So, if you will, consider that Francis was telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
And is in the mental institution.
Whoa.
That he has been wrongly detained. And when you have a man like Caligari, who was, yes, in fact, this crazy guy, and yes, the director of the asylum, he can just say like, oh yeah, this guy's crazy. Just lock him up. So Caligari has locked Francis up to save himself. And Francis is right. But if you are in a mental institution, the director puts you in there, and you're saying like, no, he's a madman who controls sleepwalkers to murder people.
You're going to be in that mental institution so
look
fast.
crazy, and perhaps you go crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Because the argument that all of this is something that Francis made up kind of falls apart when you're like, well, what about all those scenes where Francis wasn't there?
Yeah.
How's he know about all of that? And also you're saying that maybe this is the ramblings of a madman because look how crazy it looks. But when we come back into what we establish as the real world in the asylum where Francis is a patient, it still looks crazy.
Uh-huh.
It's not like everything is normal here. Because if everything looked normal, then I'd be like, okay, this is the real world. That was the ramblings of a madman.
Uh-huh.
But it still looks
Crazy.
just the same.
Yeah.
The same sets are used. They didn't change those sets.
Right. Whoa.
So maybe this exaggerated worldview does not belong to crazy Francis, but it is the film's commentary on the world. This distorted, corrupt place where authority figures prey on the vulnerable. The real world is crazy, so it in fact does not restore faith in the systems like that censorship idea wanted it to. Or maybe they find a way around that to say like, this is all the story of this guy, but look how the real world is. It's insane. It's like The Scream. Francis is the character in The Scream. He is in this insanity and he's screaming and he wants them to hear him, but nobody cares.
Right.
Because they are a part of this insane world. And I think Francis's resentment for all forms of authority, especially at the end of the movie when he is institutionalized, goes back to that saying that I was talking about, that quote that I pulled about Expressionism, which I wish I had written down, but that to a healthy and sane mind, this world will look crazy. So maybe Francis is that healthy, insane mind, and the world looks crazy because it's a crazy world, and that's the only way it can look to someone who is of sound mind. So maybe Francis is actually the one who is...
Sound.
Yeah.
Whoa. Francis.
And when we do this framing story, I think, you can make that argument that it undermines the critique of institutions that the writers were trying to express. I think that is true, and that's why I don't like the ending. But in doing so, the film itself becomes an institution we can't trust. Mm-hmm. Now you can't trust what you see with your own eyes. So maybe the writers didn't like that ending being put on it, but it, in effect, kind of does the same thing, because they wanted to show a distrust of familiar institutions so we don't fall into the same things. We don't go to war for unjust reasons or whatever the reasons are behind it. And now they're showing you, and the stories that we tell you, don't believe that either. And I don't think there was ever a subjective story before. You know how I love talking when we're going into year one of our podcast, you were saying like, I don't like these movies that don't tell you the ending. And I was saying like, no, the subjectivity, that's where you can put in your own thoughts. That's where the genius of it lies. This might have been the first example of that. This movie, we're talking about it 100 years later. I don't know what the ending really clearly says.
Yeah.
It can go so many ways.
Whoa. Yeah. And I think I've grown as a movie watcher.
So do you kind of like the subjectivity of this ending?
I enjoyed, the like open reading of it. You can kind of make your own decision, but I enjoy how it doesn't spoon feed it to you. Wow, I have changed.
You really have.
Me.
You also started this with, I love this 1920s German silent movie.
Well, we all grow and change.
Because I do think the framing story undercuts their idea of the mistrust of systems of authority a little bit. But in doing so, it kind of creates different ones and creates the first subjective ending to a movie that I know of. So you can't even trust this. You can't trust anything, man. Not even us. That's what they ended up saying.
Whoa. That's crazy. You're crazy.
You so crazy, Weimar cinema.
Weimar cinema is all over the place, and I love it.
I think, wow, you love it. I was going to say maybe our next big deep dive should be 10 Weimar cinema movies. And I would just love creating that list. One day.
Indy's
Don't
got
worry,
so
audience.
many lists for next season.
Wait. We can't spoil anything.
Oh, so
yet.
sorry.
We'll talk about it in a few episodes.
Shh, you heard nothing.
Should we wrap up on this one?
Let's wrap it up.
I did want to talk a little bit about influence.
Okay.
It comes out all the time when I'm just talking, like, well, this comes from that. But most clearly, in the following years, Nosferatu takes so much from this. The Last Laugh is great. I went to the German Film Museum in Berlin, and there's a whole section on Weimar cinema. Ooh. And my girlfriend at the time, I know if we're out doing something that you're not interested in, I'm like, okay, let's move on, because I know that you're going to be bored. I just let her sit there for this one because I was just loving it. I was like, that's the coat from The Last Laugh. And nobody knows what that is. And he's like, people do. These people do. But I got to see the coat from The Last Laugh. Metropolis, and then M as we get into sound, the 1931 Dracula, all of that is very, very clear. But what we talked about going into our next two movies is the influence this has on American film noir from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and even later on. Because many of the directors of these movies in Germany would go to America fleeing the Nazis and end up creating what we now call film noir, because they were using all of these German expressionist techniques It's most obvious in those shadows and angles, but it also gets into the thematic stuff too. Like a lot of those film noirs are about people who present themselves one way but really have a dark side underneath. I think you can see where that comes from in this one. Or American society as a whole that has this glossy finish on it, but a seedy underbelly beneath that, which I think this movie is talking about for Germany. And all of those things have their roots in Expressionism, specifically this movie. Not to mention, like, every horror movie ever made. Horror movies take so much from this that it kind of just goes without saying. Mm-hmm. If you have low angle stuff with sharp points in the backgrounds, if you have people with dark under their eyes, all of these things we associate with horror movies, and it comes from this, from the less direct, just thematic stuff about what darkness or insanity looks like, to the very, very specific things. Like, you haven't seen The Babadook, have you?
No.
It's quite good. Dr. Caligari's in that movie.
Oh.
There he is. Edward Scissorhands is just kind of a retelling of this, right? The castle that Edward Scissorhands is in, he is an innocent who is not really in control. He's wearing the same outfit as Cesare, pretty much. He looks very similar to him. He's being used by other people to do these crimes. All of that. Every Tim Burton movie
it's just Cabinet of Dr.
is Caligari being reframed. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing on Tim Burton. I think that's when he's at his best, because Caligari is great. Not to mention that this maybe is the first subjective film. This is not the first twist ending, but how many of those twists come at you and how quickly they do. I hadn't seen that in an earlier movie. Film tinting had been done, like George Méliès did that in A Trip to the Moon. Not nearly as effectively as this, though. But you just can't watch movies today and see something that didn't come from this movie. Mm-hmm. Not even just this group of movies, but this specific one, because this kicks it off. All of your Nosferatu and Metropolis and all of those things, which are amazing and influential, they got their influence from this. And not only is this maybe the single most influential movie in history, it's just good. It's fun to watch still, and I think that is the most impressive thing and the most surprising thing. Actually, the most surprising thing is that you agree with me.
Yes.
Well, it took us 7 years to get here, but we finally talked about it.
We did it.
Didn't do my prep, but you know what?
I think I had plenty to say.
I could keep going, but I think the biggest thing is that we got to a point where you were like, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I apologize that it was mostly just me talking today, but you knew that was going to happen. I love this movie so much.
It was an Indies Film School episode.
It really was.
Wow. Okay, well, we will see you next week.
Next week, we are continuing this thematic idea, and we are going into some film noir with Double Indemnity. And then the week after that, we are seeing the remnants of noir and really an influence of German Expressionism. There's some shots you will recognize as we go into The Night of the Hunter.
Okay.
And then that'll be the end of the season, and we'll do a big award show after that.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.